Oh, this is an iconic woman. You see, when you had me plug
I see
she
what you're
is
doing.
iconic. She is a legend. She is a mentor. She is media personality. Yani, she is all those things. She is a brand ambassador. She is all about menstrual health. She is all about the girl child. I'm talking about the one, the only, the beautiful, talented Janet Mbugua. Hi.
Yay!
Thank you. I'm humbled
Welcome.
by that introduction, and it's really good to see all of you.
It's
Good to
nice
see
to
you
see
too.
you,
You look
G.
gorgeous.
Thank you. You too. You all look so good.
Thank
you.
Anyway, Janet, we go straight to the interview. So I am going to ask you something because anyway, mi sijui kama mtu atakuwa amecrawl kwa stone asikuwe anakujua, but just tell people who you are.
No, it's all good. I'm Janet Mbugua. My background is in media. I was a news anchor for about 10 years. Before that, I was a radio presenter. And then I've kind of transitioned into doing a lot more on digital media. I have a foundation called Inuadada that really seeks to amplify menstrual justice for all women and girls. I'm a family person and just really passionate about being a change maker. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be here. I hope that's a good summary.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, I'm pretty sure anyone who lives in this Nairobi knows
Yeah.
who you are. You know, you need no introduction. But thank you. What I would like to know is this the path you always like saw yourself going down? Like when you were in school, when you were growing up, is this how you saw your future playing out?
Not really. Actually, things began to change in my mind in high school. When I was about 17, I had a teacher who watched me as I did drama and debate and all these things in school. But in high school, I was quite engaged in anything to do with the stage or platforms of communicating. I developed a passion for drama, public presentations, all these things. And so she'd been watching me, and one day she just called me into her office and said, you know, what do you want to do in future? And I said, I want to do psychology because I think a lot of people understood their mental state of mind. She's like, okay, drop that, you need it. And she spent 1 hour convincing me why I need to be to media. She said, I've been watching you. I think, you know, you're very good when you take command on stage, seem very passionate. And so she kind of changed my mind. And so going into uni, I did mass communication. Even before uni, took a gap year in high school in Basa, and that's when I started radio. So I was a radio station called Pulse FM, and then I transitioned in so that I was about 19, and then did uni, then came back, got into TV.
So basically, it's all
What
you've been
is
doing.
You know all this.
Like you've been working since you were 19, basically, is what you're saying.
Since I was 19, yeah, I took a break. When I was 19, I did radio. Then I went to uni. When I came back, I still wanted to do radio, but there was no opening. And so a friend of mine said, what I tried to be? I said, okay, let me see. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anything. I just tarmacked. I went to different stations, TC, and then finally landed at one. Said, okay, we think we have an opening for you, but I really had to work my way up. So this is all I've known.
That's fantastic. You don't feel like you missed out on like being a reckless
a
youth?
teenager.
Yeah, you know, like Al Qaeda 20-year-olds, you know, running around and just, you know, not
just
knowing
living
what
your
to do.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think somebody asked me that the other day.
Yeah.
They were like, don't you miss that? Don't you think you missed out? And I said, I guess God just gives you the path that He knows for you. Sometimes, yeah, I did miss out on going out because I was the only one working. I didn't really have relationships because I was too busy. But I would never be sorry. I mean, I don't have any regrets. I think it starting early grounded me for some of the work I'm doing now. So it's all good. Maybe when my boys are old, I'll just go crazy. Who knows?
You know, all Stella getting her groove back kind of, you know, vibes. Yeah, I can see that.
That's what's up. You've worked locally and internationally in terms of media. You've been here, you've been in South Africa, and then you came back home. What are some of the things that really stood out for you in terms of what was happening there, the structures there, and structures back home?
That's a really good question. I think honestly, Kenya has a lot of talented people. I feel like we undermine sometimes I think it's changing, but I feel like sometimes we undermine our structures and our talent and think that what's out there is best. What worked there, I think, was that there was a lot more technology and advancement in terms of doing the work on the ground, in terms of reporting, etc. But when it comes to the work ethic, the abilities, the talent, the growth, I really feel like we are truly the leaders on the continent, and I might get pushback for that. Obviously, there's a lot of incredibly talented people in different parts of Africa and the world. Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya always stand as like the stars of Africa when it comes to, I don't know, people showing up and showing out. But when I compare being in South Africa and here, they do have a sort of like the structures, even in terms of human resource and respecting boundaries and making sure that elements of race and all of those are taken into consideration. They are, or at the time, they seemed a bit more advanced. When it comes to like the raw talent, we're either at par or we really have a lot more talent in this country. So we should celebrate that, and we work really hard as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's very encouraging to hear. And
Yeah.
Janet, I know you're very passionate about young women and like working with young girls. Can you explain to us maybe where that passion came from?
I feel like I was very fortunate that I had people believe in me, and so in a sense, I feel like I always want to pay it forward. So when I was in high school, I had the business teacher say, "Yo, I see so much more for your future." When I entered radio, there was somebody who also said, "I really think you have something and I want to help you get there." Even though a lot of the expectation always would lie on me, as I'm sure you all understand, like a lot of it still lies on you. I still had people say, "We believe in you and we want to help you." When I joined TV, I really was guided a lot by some of the industry legends, and they believed in me. And I said, why do they believe in me more than I believe in myself? Because like I've always talked about the fact that I struggled with imposter syndrome. And so having been presented with a lot of those opportunities, with mentors, with people who guide me, I don't know how to do anything else other than relive that. So whenever I can, I mean, I haven't always been perfect in being able to guide people or help them because I can't do that all the time for everyone. But when I get a chance to, I'm always trying to speak positivity into the lives of women and men, but mostly women. I'm always trying to encourage people. I'm always trying to let them see past what they consider their flaws. Sometimes you just need to believe that you can overcome, you can do it, but you also need somebody to validate you. I was validated a lot, even if I was invalidated a lot. Some of my experiences, because of being a woman or a Black woman or a young woman, I still got a lot of drama, a lot of pushback. People still try to push me back from advancing, but I'm aggressive. So I fought. And, I feel like if that was something that was offered to me, I want to pass on the same thing to people as much as I can.
Now, that's really beautiful. I'm taking notes. Anyway, when you left mainstream media, like most people could not really understand why, because you were at your prime. Like, what really informed that decision?
It was many things that informed the decision. I had done it for 10 years, right? So it was 10 years nonstop of working. So it was starting in Nairobi, going to Johannesburg, coming back to Nairobi, starting a family, getting into brand endorsements. Everything was happening incredibly. I thank God. I just felt like for a number of reasons. One, I hadn't really taken the time to map out what my future looks like. And I know that sounds like such a privileged thing to say. Not everybody has the ability to just say, I want to pause and find myself, which it kind of a little bit.
Just a bit.
But I also wanted to explore the work with my foundation. I felt like I really, really wanted to get into social justice and social development. I didn't really have a full understanding of it. All I knew was I have a passion to want to do something to improve the lives of people. I was burnt out. I had a really young child at the time. And the fifth reason is because there was an election coming up and I had election burnout. I just felt like I want to do more than be part of the announcing of this electoral process. And I remember that admission was so shocking to my boss because I was so real about it. I told her, you know me, when I'm all in, I'm all in. I will give you all my shifts, all my hours, all my time because I love the work I do. But there's nothing challenging or new about this particular election other than, the front runners were the same, the narrative was the same. I just felt like this is the right moment to step back and think about how else do I want to grow in this industry? how else do I want to grow as a news person? What other training do I need to equip myself with? How else do I want to grow as a social justice and development person? So it was essentially reflection and burnout that kind of motivated me to take a break. But I took 6 months before my final show. So I had saved enough money, I had made enough networks to do other work. So I didn't just wake up and resign. You can't really afford to do that. Literally, you can't afford to do that.
It
So
was
I
a
said, let me
calculated
put
risk.
aside some money, let me put aside some plans. And so when I did, I had a plan. I had a plan for at least 1 year. And then thank God I got some work, which I'm still doing today. So yeah, it's one of the best decisions I ever made, I think.
And
That's
then you stepped
fantastic.
back and gave us a book, My First
Yeah.
Time, which is a collection of stories from both men and female who give us stories about, menstrual and the first interaction. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Nana, I know you know about it because
The book?
She's been a bit biased, but it's okay.
yeah, I think I've been doing menstrual health intervention for a few years. And in the beginning, it started with me using my platform as a mainstream media person to bring attention to the issues. So the research and the champions and the advocates have been there for many years. But I think what happened in 2013 when this Periods of Shame feature aired on Citizen, it almost like on primetime news, it's kind of unheard of. So it mainstreamed the conversation. People now, everyone watching in their living room, 9 o'clock news that day, learned what period poverty is. And as somebody who was broadcasting the story, I was so triggered. I was like, I'm a woman and I've always found access to pads the easiest thing in the world, access to any menstrual product. How are you telling me that there's girls as young as 12 who have to use chicken feathers? How is that even? How do you go to bed knowing that your constituents don't have access to? I don't even know. So I decided to start the foundation. But as I continued working and intervening, there was still so much shame shrouded around this conversation. And so I thought, how can I make this conversation important and embraced by young girls, but also by men, by women, and how can I show Black menstruators to people in Kenya? And so I started by wanting to collect different stories from people who look very different, who bring very different things to the table. But inclusion is for everyone. If you leave out certain people, then what are you really doing in terms of advancing human rights? And so I thought initially it was just going to be a very simple Q&A, but then I thought, why don't we have a resource that can live on shelves in schools forever? And so that's how I came up with the book. Now, this was 2018. I was in the first trimester of my second pregnancy and I was sick, really sick. So I took advantage of being in, I mean, I was supposed to be in bed resting, but I took advantage of that time to grow the idea. And so it gave me time to grow and think about all the people I want to interview. I couldn't talk to everybody that I would have hoped to, but I tried to be as inclusive as possible. I tried to look for women who are blind, women who are differently abled. I tried to look for men who are from religious backgrounds or, or musicians or fathers. I tried to look for so many different faces and voices to show, one, we all menstruate or menstruation is normal. And two, there's too many gaps. We talk about wanting to address the gaps, but are we looking at addressing the gaps for everyone? And so it's something I'm really proud of. I've given it to a few schools. Before COVID hit, I was going to do a county tour. So every month I was going to go to a different county. But maybe once things are back to our new normal, I can continue. So that's what informed me doing the book.
Fantastic. Wow. And you did mention that you left mainstream media at the peak of, let's say your career. So did you feel like you met any challenges once you left mainstream media? Were there like naysayers who were like, Janet, it's a bad idea, you should just go back to TV? Or were guys encouraging and looking forward to working with you in other ways?
It was 50-50. But most people were actually, it's so interesting. When I stepped back, I got introduced to a new set of opportunities. Because of course I was nervous. I didn't make that decision very lightly. I knew that, to your point, I was at a point where I was a primetime news anchor at one of the most watched, platforms. And I knew what I was giving up, like for sure. And the idea was that I was supposed to, by the way, go on a sabbatical. I was literally supposed to go for a few months and come back. It's now been a few years.
And counting.
And still counting.
My sabbatical has extended. So some people introduced me to new opportunities like the work I'm doing with the Hive, for example. That's a team based out of the US who want to amplify gender equality champions and messaging, and identified me as the person to partner with. And that literally happened just a few months after I left. They were like, oh, now maybe you have a bit more time to help us with this project. Some people were obviously like, what are you doing? How can you leave now? Who does that? You will never get a chance like this again. Some people were cruel enough to say that and say, this is what made you, and if you go away, everything will end. And I get where they were coming from. Sometimes people say things out of fear, but I had to tell myself, Janet, you know why you're doing this. Even if you want to go back to TV, you need to go back stronger, more informed, more intentional. So I was also doing it, I think the work we do, all of you who are hosting this interview and me, this work is something that we can do for a very long time. Forgetting what people say about shelf life, nothing like that really exists. In the real world, you can do this work for a really, really long time. And so that didn't discourage me. I was like, if it's meant to be and I'm to go back, I want to go back when I'm much stronger, much more informed about this space and about other human rights issues. So yeah, I did get people pushing back and saying, what are you doing? But I think as a result of it, I've also been able to do things that I never in my wildest dreams would have done if I was in TV. I wouldn't have done a book. I wouldn't have been working or had the opportunity to sit down with, people like the Gates Foundation or I just wouldn't have had an opportunity, I think, if I was still doing the work I was doing with a very narrow look at issues and at the way life is. It expanded my life and expanded my mindset and my opportunities.
Absolutely. Thank you, Janet. We're taking a very short commercial break, but we'll be right back with Janet. So do not touch the dial. For any questions, 22999 is our free SMS line. Welcome back. Welcome back to Chat Sport. Of course, Janet Mbugua is still with us. We're still, Yani, Nana is over here writing notes.
Literally.
It's one of those conversations that you just want to listen to and absorb every single thing that you get. And it's important to also note that challenges will always be there and that the decisions that we make for ourselves, other people will not be there telling us, yay, go for it. Other people will also be telling you, no, don't do it. Don't do it. But Janet, you've also been, you've been awarded several times. You've been named as one of the best here and there, 40, under 40, and all of that. What do all of these titles do to you? Because I'm sure they come with a responsibility as well. It's not just something that you take and just keep to yourself. It's all me. It's my glory. That's all it's all about. But what responsibility do they come with?
It's always very humbling, especially when you look at your peers in that same group and I'm like, what? So sometimes there's a lot of pressure, but I always feel like with the platform we have, without pressuring ourselves to want to be change makers, it's almost like, what can I do with what I have? And so for me, I look at those titles as an opportunity to amplify certain messages, get people to think about issues a bit differently, and educate myself more. Again, it goes back to the point I made about stepping out so that I could just step up my knowledge. And so then when you're awarded some of these, when I have been, I think to myself, what more can I learn about, human rights injustices? What more can I learn about, women and girls' rights? What more can I learn? And with what I learn, what can I do with it? So yes, it's always humbling, but it definitely is an opportunity to say, learn more, do more. And then on top of that, pay it forward. Make sure that other people also coming after you are rising up and then again paying it forward in their lives. So I think that's how I look at it.
Yeah. And you talk about inclusivity and gender equality with passion. Even you have some Instagram parties, period parties, right? So are we looking at Janet probably in a higher office in the near future, like in a parliament?
Sometimes you're more impactful from the outside, I think, but That said, and I'll tell you why that's a really good question. Over the last few weeks or months, actually, when we're looking at the kind of leadership we deserve, you just have to ask yourself, gosh, see, then maybe I just go and help them figure
Yeah,
it out.
honestly, because they're not doing it.
They're not doing their job.
Maybe,
The best.
So I never say never, but right now I think the path I'm taking is completely trying to educate myself, confront my own problematic traits, like confront my own privilege and the way I look at issues, and trying to understand what is servant leadership. Because unfortunately, a lot of the people we have do not believe in it, and that's essentially what leadership is.
Yeah.
Is you take the needs and wants of the public and find a way to address them and find a way to include them in addressing these issues. So right now I'm really trying to educate myself, trying to confront myself with evidence and facts that are even hard to stomach, very difficult to see. And then by the time I put out what it is I'm learning and share it, it's about saying, okay, should I use this to strengthen the networks of my foundation? Yes, for sure. But also, is it an opportunity to use it to, put my foot forward in saying, what more can I do at a higher level? So I wouldn't say I'm obsessing over it or having sleepless nights. I honestly can't even say that I've given it more than 5 minutes of thought. But what I'm saying is that it's okay to think about it, and it's okay to say, maybe this is what is needed. If many of us, because I know so many incredible young activists and advocates, and I'm like, you're the people who need to be there. I see now why we need all of you to mobilize and be there. So I'm just trying to educate myself to be a better citizen, to be somebody who can lead in whatever space, but lead with direction and lead with people at the forefront, almost like putting myself behind, but leading. And then who knows what the future holds for that. Right now, the most important thing is educate and amplify. Educate myself, amplify on my digital spaces and on networks such as these, and then kind of make decisions that lead towards a better election, a better electoral process, a better voting process. It doesn't mean I'm front and center, it doesn't mean I have to vie, but can I play a role in allowing people to vote better and vote in a wiser way? So
I'd vote for
I'd
you.
vote
Just,
for
you
you.
know, just
You
putting
have
it
a-
out
You
there.
have 3 votes.
I'd have
Vote
like
good.
the t-shirt and like the pin, the whole shebang. Janet Mbugua for president. I said it. So I honestly want to ask, how do you feel knowing that you're a big role model to other women who are looking up to you out there?
Yeah.
Does it like make you feel pressure? I mean, I feel like at this point I'm just asking like for advice, because sometimes I feel like I have to act a certain way because people are looking up to me and I
Yeah.
can't let them down. How do you deal with that?
That's good. And first of all, I don't want you guys to feel any pressure. I know that the pressure comes with the territory. And might I add, you're all incredibly talented and stunning. So kudos to you. Thank you for everything you all are doing on this. I love seeing women take their spaces. You don't understand. Makes me very happy. But yeah, of course it comes with the pressure to want to appear a certain way. So let me tell you a little bit about how I'm evolving. When I was in the media, I felt the need to always be put together and perfect. But what that does is that I think it buries some of your insecurities and pain that you're going through. And at the end of the day, those come up. At the end of the day, it'll always show itself. All those things you're trying to do away with or trying to hide or trying to downplay, it comes out at some point. It's just that it just shows itself at some point. And so when I left TV, I needed to take time to confront some of the things I'd been, sitting back on, or what's the word? Almost hiding. The word isn't really hiding. I'd been burying them. You know, the way you just unaeka tu chini ya kitu, like under the carpet, or
Under the
I'll
rug.
deal with that another day.
Yeah.
I had to confront it and say, no, Janet, you have insecurities that you haven't addressed. You have issues that you haven't confronted. You have traumas that you haven't confronted. And all of these are going to come out. It's not saying that they're going to come out and embarrass you, but they're going to come out when you least expect it. You're going to crack or you're going to snap, because you're a human being who's trying to always keep it together, and you just can't do that. So I had to confront that and say, I will be a role model in as far as I think I can be. And I'm always telling people now, please don't look to me as the person who is your all-encompassing role model because I am so imperfect and I'm so flawed, and I'm trying to work on my flaws every day. Especially when I became a mom, it's so hard to look at your little angels and hide. They make you very vulnerable and they make you very raw, and they make you confront your demons and your past and your traumas. That's what they did for me. And so I've been spending a lot of time, either sometimes, if it means there's times I'm saying, okay, I need to go for therapy for that, or okay, I need to apologize for what I said. Okay, I need to think about that differently. So I'm really confronting my demons and my traumas right now. That's the space I'm in. And so if that means I can't be the best role model, it's okay, because I'm trying to be the best version of myself for me and my family first, before I can be a version of something for people. And so, yeah, I'm always going to try and say the right things online. I'm always going to try and trigger the right conversations because I think they're important. But now I'm not obsessed with being flawless, being perfect. No, I'm not. I'm never going to be those things.
I think it comes with a job, and most of the times we're just put on the spot to be a particular way. But it's beautiful to hear it coming from you that you don't have to be, that you can face your demons. You don't have to be loud about it.
You're
You don't have to
human
go on
being
social,
at the end of the day.
be on social media and just be like, oh, guys, this is what I'm going through. You just find a way to handle it. Janet, thank you so much for joining us. By now, you know, time is up, and this is me trying to be like, you know, being polite about it.
We need another
I
session. We sure need another
We want you
session.
to stay.
But I promise you, you will be on Icons. So
Yes.
we'll have one whole hour of conversation. Thank you so much, Janet.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, and good job, and thank you for the
you.
opportunity.
And I'm serious, Janet Mbugua for president.
Yes. You have a vote.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Oh God, it's the end of the show, guys.
Yeah.
Kwaherini.
Kesho ase.